Another year has come and gone. A lot has happened in the world, some good, some bad. The tabletop game community has not got away unscathed, of course. Yet, there have also been a lot of positive trends and changes. So as we're nearing the end of 2019, I want to look back at what happened in the tabletop games hobby. Let me get the bad bits out of the way so we can finish on a positive note. I don't want to rehash the long discussions that have been had, and I also don't want to reopen wounds, but I feel it was important to include the following, because as great as our hobby is, on the whole it's not immune to bad actors and terrible things happening. It's not some sort of magic bubble that is completely separate to the rest of the world. I think we probably all heard of the case of plagiarism by a prominent figure in the tabletop game industry. As someone who regularly writes articles, makes podcast episodes and publishes videos, I don't want anyone to copy what I create. I have no problem with someone quoting me, provided there are clear references or links to my original content. I always appreciate it if people ask me or at least let me know if they want to reference one of my articles. However, simply copying someone else's work without listing the source is just wrong. Unfortunately, there have also been a number of public reports of assault, violence and other attacks. Many of these allegations are against well-known people within our industry, and often people in positions of power. People have publicly and professionally distanced themselves from those alleged to have committed these acts, which is a positive sign that our industry is heading in the right direction. But I also know that there will continue to be similar cases in the future. We can only hope that there will be a more robust response from our community, but as I said before, the tabletop games industry isn't separate from the rest of the world, where these sort of actions continue to go on unreported and in silence. The year has also seen the sad passing of a number of grand figures in our industry. These people will be missed greatly, so let's remember their names and the great games they are associated with. Francis Tresham, probably best known for designing the first of what later became the 18XX series of games, and the inventor of the technology tree, which you now find in many tabletop games. Francis Tresham was board game designer as well as a games company founder and director, who had a huge influence on our hobby. We will not forget him in a hurry. Chad Jensen. For many, Chad Jensen will forever be linked to the great games that are Dominant Species and Combat Commander. We are still awaiting the release of Dominant Species Marine, so with that and with his everlasting games, he will be in our minds forever. So let's move on to all the good that has happened this year in our hobby. I think generally there has been a positive trend overall. Tabletop games are becoming more mainstream, with more modern games making it into general retail, and the new shows Starting Rel and Gamma Ray bringing our hobby to a wider audience, while at the same time showing how tabletop games have helped people through tough times and continue to help them tackle depression, anxiety and other mental health issues. I also think our industry has improved and made more people feel included, even though the road is still long. I can see that gender issues are starting to be addressed with the use of the neutral pronoun they, and with the depiction of female characters becoming more realistic, less sexist and degrading, and on a scale more akin to the presence of male characters. Non-binary, transgender and others are also appearing more in games. Speaking of gender, there has been a large number of female designers and illustrators coming to prominence this year, which is great to see. Let's hope the trend continues next year and that we see a wider range of people of other genders becoming more prevalent in our industry. The issue of allowing partially sighted, blind or colourblind people to join our hobby more easily seems to have slowed down a bit after the release of Nyctophobia last year. Unfortunately, many of the design choices that help people with visual impairments are still accidental rather than intentional. However, there's a tireless handful of people in our industry who are doing their best to try and change this, and I want to specifically name Meeple Like Us and Sightless Fun. I also think the deaf and hard of hearing community is seeing a positive trend. Seeing Dibs and Blue team up with Watch It Play to create ASL versions of game tutorial videos is great, and of course, Dibs and Blue creates many other videos that allow deaf and hard of hearing people learn and play modern tabletop games. Of course, it is also down to us to make everyone welcome at our table and help when needed. I think many of us are happy to play games with anyone as long as they're there to have fun. Whoever you deal with, please remember that it's great to be happy to help if someone needs assistance, and it's even better to say so, but always ask what someone wants you to do to help them, if anything at all. You will be surprised how much someone can do without assistance. I also have to report some things that were great for me in 2019. I continue to have an amazing games group and we still meet once a week to play games and have fun. I also have a wonderful wife who still loves playing games with me, which is amazing and makes me very happy. I'm also still amazed by the support I get on Patreon. I probably sound like a broken record by now, but every single dollar of support does really mean a lot to me. It means there's someone out there who likes what I do, which gives me the energy to continue. I also can't believe that I've gone beyond 1,000 Twitter followers, and I'm overwhelmed by how quickly people responded to my asking for more YouTube subscribers, which brought me over the 100 mark within a few hours. Again, every single one of you is amazing and it's great to converse with so many of you. The blog has also gone from strength to strength, and I've published 2 articles every single week without fail. One thought piece, which I call my topic discussion, as well as a review article in my Saturday review series. It's sometimes hard to get everything written, but I will continue next year with fresh impetus after having started my take-back series of articles, which are intermingled with the Saturday reviews. I was even accepted by the UK Gaming Media Network and am now a proud member, which is amazing. I've also started recording every article in audio form to appear on my podcast, as well as an audiogram on my YouTube channel. Speaking of audio, the Tabletop Inquisition podcast that I co-host with Antoinette from Board Game Inquisition continues at the same pace, and we've now had the pleasure of interviewing a number of industry people, which was just so much fun. My exhibition attendance has also increased this year, with my usual visit to UK Games Expo followed by my first Essen Spiel. Next year I'm planning on attending both events for the whole duration, plus Aircon on Friday and Saturday. So it's been an amazing year for me, and I hope I will continue in 2020. Thank you again to everyone who reads my articles, listens to the podcast or watches my videos. A special thank you to all my Patreon supporters. I'm looking forward to next year. Thank you for listening to this Tabletop Games blog review. There's also a written version of it on my blog, links in the description of this podcast. There you'll also find links to my Ko-fi and Patreon pages if you want to support me financially. Please also like this podcast and subscribe to it. Leave some stars if you're an Apple Podcast. Everything would be really welcome. And review it if you can as well. Other than that, tell your friends about it. And generally, I hope you join me again for another episode of Tabletop Games Blog Review. Thanks for listening and bye. This podcast was made possible by my Patreon supporters, David Miller of Subquad Publishing, James Naylor of Naylor Games, Paul Grogan of Gaming Rules, Robin Kay of Ruined Sky Games, Sarah Reed of Undine Studios, Tim Vernick, and Richard Simpson of We're Not Wizards.